Coach, I appreciate you joining me. And my main goal here, as I just told you, is I want to give Washington fans a sense of what they're getting in Cole Turner, because I think that he's a guy that people here are excited about because he's got that size and he's got a pretty good resume from his time at Nevada. What are they getting here?
Well, he's a great kid, number one. We recruited Cole out of a little town in Oregon, Clackamas, Oregon, and he was an all-state wide receiver. He scored the winning touchdown in the state championship game, and we just knew he was going to be a player. We just weren't sure what he was going to be. He started off as a wide receiver, and he played a couple seasons at wide receiver, and he was just a click off from being a really productive guy. And so we moved him to tight end, and I really kind of kicked myself that I moved him a year late. I wish I would have moved him a year earlier, because as soon as we moved him, he was a game changer. We had really good receivers outside, and when the middle of the field was open, people played cover two, split coverage. Boy, Cole would just kill people down the middle of the field, and he gave our quarterback a huge target. And we love big receivers. I coached in the NFL for 6 years, and I had Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne at Indy. I coached for the Oakland Raiders. And, our whole philosophy is if you have an accurate quarterback and you have big receivers, those guys are always open because you can throw away from defenders, back shoulder throws. And we did that a lot with Cole. I think the other unique thing about Cole Turner is we are very creative, and we moved him all over the field.
Yeah.
And so he played in a conventional tight end alignment. We flexed him out. We also would put him on the backside of the formation by himself. And he was just a really unique matchup out there because he's close 6'7". He's got great jumping ability and range. And most corners are 5'9", 5'10". Right. So whenever you get it matched up, we had a good quarterback. Carson would see a matchup and he would take it. And, the best story about Cole is we were in the red zone on the 4-yard line, and we were in two tight ends, and we had our receivers outside, and we gave our quarterback the option to either run the ball or throw the fade. And we were throwing it outside to this little receiver, and I was looking at Cole blocking, and I said, wait a minute. I said, why don't you move out there? We'll throw the ball to you, and we'll find another guy that can come in here and block. And we did that. And, he ended up being he scored more touchdowns than any tight end in the country because of things like that we did with him. And so, we would do that, and everybody in the stadium knew we were going to throw it to Cole, and he would still score. And if they double covered him, we just run the ball. So it was just made the game really simple. But what an amazing guy. We had 3 players, Carson Strong, Romeo Doubs, and Cole Turner. They all signed NFL contracts. And they all grew up together in our offense. And Romeo got drafted by Green Bay, and Carson signed with the Philadelphia. And they're really excellent kids, but even better people, great people.
And with Cole, because as you said, you switch him from receiver to tight end, and you never know how a guy's going to make that transition, because even if he's big and athletic, there's still other things that you have to take care of at tight end. Why do you think he took to it so well, so fast?
Well, I think one of the things I coached receivers with the Colts, and in 2 years I was a tight end coach with the Oakland Raiders when Al Davis was still alive. And one of the things we drafted a tight end in 2002 named Doug Jolly from BYU, and in the second round. And I was kind of in charge of the research of that player and comparing him to other players in the history of the draft. And one of the things I found is that there's a great history of tight ends being late developers, late bloomers in the National Football League. And, a lot of the guys were like Cole. They were big, tall, rangy kids that had matured late, that had good hands, good receiving skills, and they grew into their bodies as blockers. And that's what Cole is. He's just starting to really realize his potential. The best football is in front of him. When I was with the Colts, we had a player named Marcus Pollard, and Marcus was a really good NFL tight end, but he never played college football. He was a power forward for the Bradley basketball team, and Bill Polian and the Colts, we brought him there, and he developed into an excellent professional tight end. And Peyton Manning used to throw the ball to him, and so I learned a lot from that. And I saw a lot of those qualities in Cole. And I just think he's got an opportunity to be a real matchup problem against linebackers and safeties. And I think the quarterbacks there are going to really love throwing the ball to him.
Well, they've harped on the wide catch radius. I think that's become like a cliche almost for them this offseason because of guys like Cole. But because you did coach the NFL and because you have experience coaching that position, what are some of the traits that, again, you can have certain skills, but you need some other things. So what are some of the other little things that Cole has that you say, hey, he has a size, he has this, but he also has this, and that's why he's got a chance to be pretty good?
I think number one is his range. He has incredible range, and one of the great things I always look for in a receiver was upper body flexibility. And what that is can he turn his body to get in position to make tough catches? And, so many catches in the National Football League are tough catches. They're contested catches. And Cole has that ability. I mean, he can be running full speed and you can throw a back shoulder throw and he can get his upper body in position to make a catch. And a lot of players can't do that. They can't move their upper body and get their hands in position to make plays on the ball. So that's number one. He's incredible range, great hands, upper body flexibility. And the other thing is just consistency and dependability. Quarterbacks tend to go to people they trust and depend on. And Cole's one of those guys. He's always going to be working with the quarterbacks. He's always going to be practicing with them in the summer and the off season. And he's going to be the type of guy that's always available to work and get better. And so he's going to develop that rapport with the quarterbacks and really be a guy that I think they can rely on to make plays. I spent 6 years in the NFL and competed against Belichick a lot. He was at the Jets then in the old AFC East. But one of the things Belichick says about the tight end position, it's the one position that changes every formation. When you move the tight end, the defense has to adjust. And so by having that guy be a weapon like Cole Turner, it really forces the defense to make some choices. Are they going to put a corner on him? Are they going to put a safety on him? Are they going to put a linebacker on him?
Right.
And those matchups is what offensive coaches look for when they're game planning and what quarterbacks look for when they're looking at who they want to throw the ball to.
Now, one of the things that jumped out right away watching the rookie mini camp when he was here is how well he cuts and how fast he comes out of his cuts on those deep out routes.
Yes.
Those corner routes. Is that accurate? And then also the other thing is too, on some of the inside routes, there were times where he'd be like, it was just, he'd give a little shoulder fake and get the guy to wide and come back. And then another time he might not do that and might not get as open. Is that part of the learning curve for him? And first of all, talk about the corner routes and the cutting out of that, but also the inside seam routes. What adjustments might he have to make to get open there in the NFL?
I think the biggest thing that college players learn when they move to the National Football League is just the second level adjustments that they have to make, especially at tight end. They have the second level release off of linebackers, safeties, and just the talent and skill of those linebackers and safeties and their ability to cover. And so one of the things I think Cole will learn is how to use his size, and strength to avoid people, but also to use that to get open. And that's something that he'll learn at that level. The outside routes, one of the beauties of Cole Turner is that he does have history as a wide receiver. And so we didn't change our schemes when we moved him outside. we allowed him, and he understood coverage adjustments and how to work off of defensive corners and be in certain places on the field. And so he was able to run a lot of those routes that are receiver routes outside, and getting the depth, like you say, you know, a lot of tight ends don't run those 16 to 18 yard cuts, and Cole Turner can do that. And I think that just gives you more flexibility offensively. And it certainly gives a quarterback another option that a lot of teams don't have at that position.
Yeah, and that's one thing that jumped out, because it's the way he comes out of that break. There's for a taller guy, he's able to plant and cut to the outside really well. And I just think that is going to be a matchup nightmare for team. What about in the red zone? Again, you have to have more than just, obviously sometimes size is going to, like, you're going to throw up a jump ball, and if you're, you know, covering a 5'9" guys covering you, you're going to win. But other times you're not, because you have to do some things. So what are some of the other little things he did to get himself open in those areas to be a good target all the time?
Well, I think that's repetition and scheme. And I just think it gives the quarterback another option.
Right.
You know, and one of the things, he learned how to use his body, not only in jump balls, but back shoulder throws. And the quarterbacks really got used to throwing the ball away from defenders in the red zone. You know, the red zone, the space is condensed and the windows are really tight down there. And it's the guys that can create space and utilize those tight open windows down there with their body size. And it's almost, you turn into a power forward down there. It's like rebounding a basketball. Right. And if a quarterback can spot the ball away from a defender and get it to that big body down there, it just creates a spatial advantage. You know, he's also a threat down the middle down there too. And so we used him on those inside routes. We used him on the outside fade routes, you know, and he even is a threat at the front of the end zone, you know, when you're throwing away from a defender low and away. So he is a talent. He's a target. He's a really versatile matchup player. And that versatility just creates options. It creates options for an offensive coordinator, a play caller. It creates options for a quarterback. And, you know, I just think he's going to get better and better, you know, as he gets stronger, as he matures as a professional athlete. I just think he's going to even improve his skills even more.
And that's what I was going to ask you. I only have couple more questions on him, but I was going to ask you, like, what is it that you say, okay, because again, you have that experience, you know what it takes here. So what are some of the things you say, okay, he's got all this, he can do all this if he does what?
Yeah, I think, you know, one of the things that I saw with our players, you know, when we would draft a rookie, that first year in the National Football League, all of a sudden he's not going to class all the time. He's not running around town. He comes to the facility. He's eating regularly. He's lifting in the weight room. He's working on his fundamental drills and skills with the quarterbacks. And all of a sudden these guys start to fill out. Their shoulders start to widen out. They get stronger. They become men. And I think he's going to learn how to use his physical strength traits that the God gave him. I think that leverage is going to help him in blocking. I think it's going to help him in getting open versus big linebackers and safeties. And I just think he's going to mature. He's a very bright guy as well. And I think that's another quality that great receivers have in the National Football League is they're very intelligent. They see all the moving parts and they're able to use that to get themselves open. And, you know, and I also think, you know, as a young player, you learn a lot from older players and good players that are around you. He'll benefit from that because he has that kind of personality and he is a constant learner. And I just think he's got a growth mindset and he's going to continue to improve on the skills that he already has.
Yeah, and he's got a good guy in Logan Thomas there to work with him as well. And 6'6", big guy, as a blocker in line. Did you use him much in line as a blocker, or or how did you use him
No,
as a
we
blocker?
did. We did. And I think he's going to just continue to get better. So much of blocking at the tight end position is getting in position and using leverage.
Right.
One of the things I learned in that league was most of blocking is just getting your body in position to block.
Yeah.
And so I think he's going to really benefit from being around NFL line coaches, NFL tight end coaches, working on leverage in the off season. And I think he's going to develop into a really good blocker.
So I've gone about almost 20 minutes, and I haven't asked you about his hair yet. He's got quite a mop of hair, man. That's like it jumps out right away. It's
well,
pretty good.
We're from the left coast, in California and Oregon and Nevada. We see a lot of different hairstyles, and he's always had that hair, and it's just part of his own personality, and just an amazing guy, though. He's the kind of kid that you want to take home with you. And, he's been at my house and had a bunch of meals over there with my family. And, but he's a great kid, great person, which is another, he's a dependable person. He's the kind of guy you want on your team. He's the kind of teammate you want to have. And he's the kind of guy that coaches learn to depend on. And I just think he's going to, the best is yet to come for Cole Turner.
And then the funny thing is with the hair, you see that and you think free spirit,
Yeah. He's got a little free spirit to him, but he's also a kind of a consummate worker, and he values practice. He values the time that he works with his quarterbacks and with his other teammates and coaches. And, he was a leader for us. He was a guy that everybody looked to and knew that he would show up on game day and make plays for the team.
It would be a pretty big grocery bill if he's coming over to eat too.
There's no doubt. He's going to be a big man when he grows into that body.
Last thing then, Carson Strong, because he was a guy that Washington was interested in as well. And I think when Sam Howell fell to them in the 5th round, they went that route. If he didn't, I wouldn't have been shocked at all if they had taken Carson a round or so later, because I know they had liked him. And I know, like, if he didn't have those injuries, I'm guessing he goes fairly high. How do you think that those injuries played into him not getting drafted? And then what are your expectations for him? What is Philly getting with him?
Yeah, I feel bad for Carson because I think the injuries had everything to do with where he was not drafted. I have so much respect for that kid because I seen him grow and mature. And then last season, he had surgery in the off season and he just wasn't quite healthy. And that knee got re-aggravated. And, I told him a story when I was with the Colts. We played against Dan Marino, and Dan late in his career had that big knee brace and he wasn't 100%. And, I just saw that guy go out and battle and was a warrior all the time and through his career. And he beat us many times on one leg. Carson basically played that way all last season. He played with one leg. He threw for, 4,500 yards and was the player of the year in our league. And so I just have so much respect for him playing, not being 100%, saying that had a lot to do with, where he fell in the draft. And I just hope he could get healthy and have a chance to show the type of player he could be at that level, because I think he has all the tools. He's extremely intelligent. He's incredibly accurate, and he has a passion for the game and preparing for the game. And so I just think those traits are going to translate well at that level.
And I was going to ask you that too. Like, what are the things that you say that if he's going to make it, we can see the arm, everybody can see the arm, right?
Yep.
What are some of the little things that you say, like, hey, these are some throws that he can make, or some things he does as a quarterback that gives him a chance?
Well, he can touch every part of the field with his arm, and he's accurate. He's an accurate deep ball thrower, but he's a great intermediate timing passer as well. And so I just think, so much of the passing offenses in the National Football League our timing and intermediate, but he can also go deep. He loves to throw the ball deep. He's very accurate throwing the ball deep. He's extremely smart. And we're a little bit unique in that, you know, I was with Tom Moore with the Colts for 4 years, and Tom really gave Peyton a lot of flexibility in his ability to check plays, adjust routes. And we did that with Carson. We gave him probably way more flexibility than most college quarterbacks get in his ability to change plays, audible, get to runs and passes, and adjust routes. And so he can do all those things. And so it's not going to be a stretch for him to make audibles and to change plays. And then he's just so passionate. He loves studying the game. He's always trying to find an edge in the film room, and his game will translate well in those areas at that level.
Jay, I appreciate your time. And I will say in that regard with Carson, not a lot of college quarterbacks are coming in with that kind of knowledge at the line of scrimmage and all that. So, but right. I do appreciate your time. I think people here are looking forward to seeing Cole and how he develops, because I think there's a level of excitement for what he might be able to do down the road. So I appreciate you coming on. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to watching it myself. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Hey everybody, it's John Keim. Do me a favor and hit that subscribe button, and I'll continue to bring you guests who provide excellent insight into the Washington Commanders. And while you're here, check out the other terrific content on the Empire Media Network, including Inside the Cap with Joel Corey and All's Caps with Steve Wino and former Washington Capital Carl Alsner. Go ahead, hit that subscribe button. Thank you.